Ayla used to love rainy days. As a child, she would run barefoot through the yard, letting the cold water wash over her face, feeling like part of the sky. But that was before the accident that changed everything. Now, the rain is no longer a refuge. It's a reminder of what she lost, of what was left behind. She avoids wet streets, thunderstorms, even the scent of damp earth. Her life revolves around working at a small neighborhood bookstore, where she hides among stories that are not her own. That afternoon, when the sky collapses over the city, Ayla is arranging books, trying to ignore the sound of the storm. The door suddenly swings open, bringing in a man, soaked and breathless. "Looks like I picked the worst day to go out without an umbrella," he says, shaking the water from his hair. Ayla only nods, not looking up. He doesn't seem bothered by her silence. He walks slowly between the shelves, touching the books gently, as if he knows them well. "Have you worked here long?" he asks, picking up a worn copy of a classic novel. "A few years." "Do you like it?" She hesitates. She likes the bookstore because it feels safe. But liking it might be an overstatement. He notices her hesitation and gives a small smile. "It must be nice, living among stories. Sometimes, they're the only things that save us." Ayla lifts her eyes. For the first time, she really looks at him. There's something in his gaze, something she recognizes. A shadow of pain, perhaps loss. In the following days, Nilo keeps coming back to the bookstore. He always finds an excuse, a new book, a cup of coffee, a simple "I was passing by and decided to stop in." Ayla realizes that, against her will, she starts waiting for these visits. Then one day, Nilo invites her out. Just for a coffee, nothing big. Panic rises in Ayla's chest. Outside the bookstore, the world still feels too big, too overwhelming. He notices her hesitation but doesn't push. Instead, he leaves a note on the counter. "The rain may soak us, but it can also wash away the pain. When you're ready, I'll be waiting." Ayla keeps the note. For days, it stays tucked between the pages of a book she never opens. Until one afternoon, when the storm begins to fall outside. She takes a deep breath, feels her heart racing, but before she can change her mind, she grabs her coat and steps out. The rain is cold against her skin, but for the first time in years, she doesn't run from it. And there, waiting under a street light, is Nilo. "No umbrella?" he teases. "I guess I decided not to run from the rain this time." He smiles. "So, how about that coffee?" Ayla hesitates, then nods. They walk together to a small cafe on the corner. Inside, the scent of fresh coffee and warm bread surrounds them. They sit by the window, watching the raindrops slide down the glass. The silence between them is not uncomfortable. But there is something trapped in Ayla's throat. Something she has never said out loud. Then, without Nilo needing to ask, the words begin to spill out. "It happened on a rainy night," she begins, her voice quiet. "I was in the car with my sister. We were driving home after a weekend trip. The road was wet, slippery. I was driving, and I remember laughing at something she said. For just a second, a single second, I took my eyes off the road. Ayla swallows hard, gripping her coffee cup tightly. It all happened so fast. The car skidded. We spun on the road. I heard the sound of metal twisting. And then, silence. Nilo doesn't interrupt. He just listens. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. They told me I had a few cuts, a broken rib. But none of that mattered. My sister didn't make it. Her voice falters. She was only 18. She had dreams, plans, and I took that away from her. Nilo takes a moment before speaking. It was an accident, Ayla. I was driving. I should have been more careful. And how many times before that had you driven in the rain and made it home safely? Ayla takes a shaky breath. She has thought about this 1,000 times. But deep down, she has never been able to forgive herself. Since that day, I haven't been the same. I stopped going out, I stopped driving. I stopped living. The cafe falls silent for a moment, only the sound of the rain against the window filling the space. I lost someone too, Nilo says after a while. My older brother. He battled an illness for years. I took care of him, tried to be there as much as I could. But one day, I just wasn't. I was too busy, thinking I'd have more time. Ayla looks at him. And you didn't? He shakes his head. No. When I came back, he was already gone. I carried that guilt for years. Thinking about what I could have done differently. What I should have said. She feels a tightness in her chest. And how did you move on? Nilo gives a small smile. I learned that living doesn't mean forgetting. It means continuing, for us and for the people we love. My brother always told me not to let pain define me. I think your sister would say the same to you. Ayla feels the tears running down her face. For the first time, someone doesn't try to minimize her pain or tell her to just get over it. He simply understands. And there, in that little cafe, something shifts. It's not that the pain will suddenly disappear. But maybe, just maybe, it's possible to learn to live with it. And maybe, just maybe, the rain isn't so scary after all. Because sometimes, in the middle of the storm, we find the people who help us see the light again. If you enjoyed the story, please like and subscribe.